Viva South African Communist Party, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva ANC, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva SANCO, viva! Long live the spirit of Joe Slovo, long live! Long live the spirit of Chris Hani, long live! Amandla! Comrades, Program Director, Comrade Blade Zimande, the General Secretary of the SACP, and official leaders of the SACP, Comrade Zogwani, and the other leaders who are office bearers, members of the SACP Central Committee, the leadership of the Alliance components, COSATU, SANCO, leaders of the African National Congress, Deputy Secretary General Jesse Duarte, and members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, international guests who are here, and I'm told that we have up to no less rather than 35 international guests who have come to this conference. It might be possible that the SACP has done better than what the ANC has done recently to have as many international guests as 35. We welcome you to the shores of our country, those who have come from far and afield from other countries. Comrade delegates and friends who are here. Comrade Beki Nchalinchali, I'm glad that you clarified one issue about this issue of contesting for positions, particularly in relation of you saying that you don't contest against a particular comrade when you want to get elected. You contest their position. Now that clarifies for me, and therefore I am ready to contest the position of General Secretary of the SACP. You see, in that way, I worked so well and so long with Comrade Blade. If he's standing for election as General Secretary, if I stand, I'm not contesting against him, but I'm contesting the position. So watch out, Comrade Blade. I may just get nominated by a few regions here or provinces. So sizawuhlangana ebhalotini mina nawe ke. Comrades, on behalf of the entire leadership and indeed the membership of the African National Congress, I bring you warm revolutionary greetings on this occasion of your 14th Congress. We are pleased as the ANC to have been honored with an invitation. We knew that this Congress was going to happen, and we kept waiting for an invitation because we didn't just want to gate crash. And we waited and waited, and I kept checking with the Deputy Secretary General whether the invitation did indeed arrive, and she kept on saying, Comrade DP, let's wait, it hasn't arrived yet, we will see whether it does arrive. But finally the invitation arrived, and so therefore we are honored to be here, but also to have this opportunity to participate in what we regard as the most important Congress of the SACP in a long time. Comrade Begi, you may well be complaining that at your Central Committee meeting, there were only 4 or so delegates or representatives from the ANC. But you know, when I checked at the policy conference, there were tens and tens and tens of representatives from COSATU at ours. So you were very well welcomed. And we were very happy that COSATU was at the ANC policy conference. So take heart from that. We love you so much, and we bring so many of you to come and attend. Comrades, your Congress is taking place at a critical moment for our country and indeed for the future of the people of our country. There is, we must admit, a lot of restlessness in our country as many of our people are pondering and asking themselves, how are we going to address the many challenges that face us as a country and as a people in relation to our politics, in relation to how we manage the economy of our country, particularly when we are now in a recession. They are also pondering and wondering, how are we going to address this whole question of the downgrading status that has been imposed on us? Our people are also wondering, how are we going to curb what they see as rampant corruption? And more importantly, they keep asking themselves, what are we going to do to address the issue of creating jobs and ridding our country of the scourge of inequality and poverty? These are matters that our people are concerned about. And these are matters that affect their lives on an ongoing basis. And it is in this context that your deliberations at this Congress, as well as the decisions and the programs that you are going to adopt, will have far-reaching implications for the direction as well as the character of the struggle for our national democratic society. So as you gather here, I'd like to say that be aware that you are involved in probably the most important endeavor as a Congress to address all these issues that now confront our country. And given this context, one of the key tasks of your Congress must be the recognition of the need to weave together the revolutionary, democratic, socialist, and trade union strands of the broad liberation movement into a tight alliance of formations that have a common approach towards the national democratic revolution and its objectives. This Congress must tie all these formations together into a very strong strand that is going to continue to achieve the objectives of the NDR. For as long as we remember, there are people outside our movement who have sought to define the relationship between the ANC and the SACP. 23 years ago, in October 1992, one apartheid minister, Minister of Justice Kobi Coetzee, said that the ANC would be well advised and well served to sever, in other words, to cut its links with the Communist Party, and especially one Chris Hani. That is what Kobi Coetzee said in 1992. Medimpohani, kia udumedisa, kuboni umona, kudumedisa kapilwetwe. A few months later, Chris Hani lay dead in a pool of blood in his driveway. By killing him, they thought that they would divide us. They thought that they would weaken us and possibly even destroy this relationship between the SACP and the ANC. But his death only served to bring us closer together and strengthen our resolve. While there is much that we do not know about the extent of the right-wing conspiracy behind Chris Hani's death, what we do know is that the enemies of our revolution have always seen the alliance between the ANC, the SACP, COSATU, and now SANCO as one of the greatest threats to their efforts to hold on to the privileges that they have so long enjoyed. To this day, there are many who seek to end this alliance. Even within our own ranks, comrades, there are some who, for whatever reason, continue to question the value of this alliance, and in ways that one does not understand, seek to find ways to hasten its death. As we have done for decades, and as we continue to do, we must resist each effort to destroy this alliance. This alliance was built through blood and struggle, and it must continue and continue forever. That's what I would say. To destroy the alliance between the ANC and the SACP would be indeed a grave mistake to which history will provide no absolution. We will have committed a grave historic error. The people of South Africa would not forgive such a reckless act because their well-being and prosperity is inextricably linked and bound to the success of the NDR that we are both committed to pursue. We know from the lived experience, comrades, of our struggle that together we are stronger. This is the time when we should remember what President O.R. Tambo said in 1980. The need for the unity of the patriotic and democratic forces of our country has never been greater than it is today. Our unity has to be based on honesty, he said, amongst ourselves, the courage to face reality, adherence to what has been agreed upon, and to principle. That is what Comrade O.R. Tambo said in 1980. And may I say, this remains very true even for this current moment, particularly when we are facing the type of challenges that we are facing. Your Congress is taking place when our movement, admittedly, is at its weakest. Our alliance is under great strain, and speaker after speaker, even yesterday with the General Secretary's report, we got a glimpse of how much strain that we are under. Comrade Begi as well said the same thing. Comrade Skhumbuzo said the same thing. At no other point in the history of our movement has factionalism and division been so brazen, so pronounced, and so confident. There is an African proverb that goes, when brothers fight to the death, a stranger inherits the home. Today, our home is plagued by divisions. We all know too well some of the causes of these ructions within our house. We know them very well. The diagnostic report, comrades, that was tabled by the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Gwede Mantashe, at the ANC Policy Conference, together with other discussion documents on strategy and tactics and organizational renewal, describe how our structures and programs have been undermined by competition for resources, corruption, and the capture of the state institutions by families, individuals, and companies. This was clearly explored and articulated in that diagnostic report, and many of us participated in the debates thereof. Even as delegates gathered to deliberate on these issues, more and more information was emerging about the extent to which our state-owned enterprises have been looted, how individuals in positions of responsibility have benefited from actions that at best can be described as being unethical, but at worst as being criminal. There is no single day, as we will all have observed as we read newspapers, that passes that we do not gain greater insight into a network of illicit relationships, of illicit contracts, deals, and appointments that are designed to benefit just one family and their associates. Yesterday, I was pained when I read a statement from a religious organization that was calling for action against what they see happening in the body politic of our country. And they said in their statement, this pained me, the Gupta email leaks paint a grim picture, they said. Billions of taxpayer money have been siphoned into Gupta-owned businesses without any benefit to the South African economy. State-owned enterprises like Eskom, SAA, SABC, PRASA, and so on are all hemorrhaging billions as a result of endemic corruption, gross incompetence, and maladministration. They continue, the Justice Department is also paralyzed. The NPA, the Hawks, and the SAPS are in disarray with several corruption investigations underway to determine leadership fitness. The full extent, they say, of government corruption is not known. This religious organization says. But what we do know is frightening enough. Corruption, fraud, racketeering, and the brazen theft of public funds are so widespread that barely a week passes without a new story emerging that exposes public sector corruption. More ominously, they say, is the fact that South Africa is losing its sovereignty. Besides Gupta control of many state enterprises, a growing list of foreign organizations are influencing social policy in the country, end quote. Now, when things like these are spewing out in our national discourse, we cannot turn a blind eye to these revelations, nor can we keep quiet. I heard accusations that the SACP, and particularly the General Secretary, had kept quiet on a number of other allegations that have been made. And I heard on television Comrade Blade Nzimande responding to that. We cannot keep quiet. We cannot, under the weight of ever more disclosures, become numbed to what this means for the country, for our people, and the national democratic revolution. We now know without any shred of uncertainty that billions of rands of public resources have been diverted into the pockets of a few. We also know that we, as taxpayers in this country, also paid for a lavish wedding that took place in Sun City. We also know that. These are resources that rightly belong to the people of South Africa. These are resources with which we were meant to build schools, we were meant to build houses, we were meant to build clinics. These are resources with which we were meant to support emerging farmers, small businesses, and cooperatives. These are resources that could have been used to fund higher education for the poor and to improve the quality of health in our country. Instead, they've been diverted into other people's pockets and companies, state resources. Should we remain quiet when all this happens? No, we cannot. And I am one of those who will not remain quiet. We cannot be quiet, comrades. This we cannot do because it is unacceptable and it should not be happening in our democracy. To many people, state capture may seem far removed from their everyday lives. Unfortunately and tragically, state capture has already had a profoundly damaging impact on our economy, on our state, and on the well-being of our people. We need to act now to prevent any further damage. Now, what we need to do is that this judicial inquiry, which, by the way, those who criticize the SACP and who criticize Comrade Blade for saying nothing, he was amongst the first to call for a judicial inquiry. And we are now saying this judicial independent inquiry must be appointed without any further delay. The house is burning. Let us appoint this judicial inquiry. But we are also saying our law enforcement agencies must act with speed, and they must also act with purpose to investigate all these allegations and to bring those who are responsible to book. But more importantly, we also need to go out and recover the monies that have been stolen. Those monies must be brought back. They belong to the people of South Africa. Because, comrades, if state capture is left unchecked, it can undermine the very foundations of our democracy. It is critical that the institutions we establish in the Constitution to safeguard our democracy should hold firm. We have outstanding institutions in our country, and these are the institutions that we must defend, institutions that we must protect, institutions whose integrity we must enhance. Because if we leave them to be captured, all is lost in our country. We call on all South Africans to support and respect these institutions and to defend and advance our democracy. Importantly, as the revolutionary democratic movement, as the alliance, we need to draw a line in the sand and say we will not allow our institutions to be used, to be captured, and to be abused for the interests of just a few people. We will not allow that. We need to mobilize our structures and our supporters to oppose this whole concept of state capture and corruption in whatever form it takes. We need to send a clear message, comrades, that we will not protect those within our ranks who are also involved in these activities. And we will not tolerate those who use our structures to defend these interests and misappropriate revolutionary slogans as a shield against critical scrutiny. It is a matter of great concern that a public relations company, comrades, from outside of our country was able to so effectively poison the political discourse in our country, in our movement to advance their own clients' narrow interests. It says much about our lack of political cohesion and ideological clarity that this company, Bell Pottinger, was able to manipulate some of our own political concepts to fuel divisions and confusion amongst us. And some amongst us were so gullible, so believing, had so much faith in slogans that were crafted in London, brought here to confuse us, and they so held on to all these slogans as if they are prepared to die just for the slogans that were crafted by Bell Pottinger. It is a shame on us. But herein lies the real challenge to the alliance, but particularly to the SACP, which has throughout its existence been at the forefront, Comrade Blade, of deepening and sharpening the political understanding and ideological approach of the members of our movement. We therefore look to the SACP and to this Congress to once again take the lead in building a cadre with the necessary analytical tools that are needed to understand the prevailing environment and the political consciousness to effect fundamental change. This is necessary because our people are watching with grave concern, and they are also watching in some fear, wondering if we are still capable of leading them. They hear in our language, in our ideas, a hankering after our past victories, yet they long most and they are most concerned about the future. They want to hear how the ANC and the broader alliance will heal itself. They want to hear how we are going to revive and transform our economy and how we are going to improve their lives. And this is a moment when we dare not fail our people. Although the proverbial brothers who always fight amongst themselves and can be at each other's throats, amongst us in this country and in our movement, I think there is still a need to be optimistic. Our people do have grounds for hope, and that hope has arisen after the ANC policy conference. Because we have now embarked as a movement and as a country on a journey of renewal. Following the ANC policy conference, many of us felt that we are now determined to move ahead to renew the African National Congress and to unite our movement. We have now set upon this journey, and the rank and file members of our movement have actually set us on this journey so that we seek a renewal of the values, the organizational integrity, and the revolutionary program of the ANC and the Alliance. This conference that we've just emerged from Congress was a real milestone. It was an important and a crucial milestone on this journey that we have embarked upon. It has established a platform for the renewal and the unity of the ANC and the Alliance. The delegates to this conference were forthright in identifying the challenges facing the movement, and they were determined in their efforts to find solutions. Having been guided by a brutal analysis of our challenges through the diagnostic report and the organizational renewal and the strategy and tactics, where we took off all the gloves and spoke in real truth about the challenges that face us, I believe we've now emerged out of this conference, leading up to our conference in December, having built a platform that we now need to strengthen, to bolster this platform, and we see this Congress as being part of that strengthening of the platform that we need to unite our movement. This Congress, therefore, provides an important opportunity to build on that platform. It provides an opportunity for the Communist Party to provide leadership in determining a program to build and to unite the Alliance. Out of this Congress, we do not expect decisions, resolutions that are going to weaken the Alliance. We expect, on the contrary, decisions that are going to strengthen and build and unite the Alliance. Now, this process clearly, comrades, must be based on shared values and a common strategic objective. It should not be based on anger. It should not be based on being short-termist, where we look only at the short term. It should be based on looking at the long term. But as we do this, we must also look at what we have achieved. What we have achieved is phenomenal. We have achieved a great deal that has advantaged our people in many ways. But what we also know is that there is still a long way to go. And this is the moment when friends do not part. This is the moment when friends unite to move forward with greater strength. This is the moment when we do not weaken ourselves. Yes, there may be amongst us, within the ranks of this Congress, where we are saying the SACP must now sue for state power. I know that. It has a wonderful ring to it. It has a wonderful ring that, yes, one day when we go to the union buildings, we must find all red flags at the union buildings with the SACP in power. Yes, it has a very tempting, alluring, a very attractive, wangathi ngaba mnandi lento if ingayenzeka. I know that. But comrades, we've got to face reality. And the reality that we must face is that as a revolutionary movement, we must never take decisions by what drives our emotions. We must never take decisions out of anger because we are angry with the ANC for, having not done anything on corruption and so forth. or we are angry at the Guptas, we are angry at whoever. We must, as a revolutionary movement, comrades, we must, as a revolutionary movement, do what our forebears have always done. They lead us in the SACP, lead us in the ANC. They have always been calculating leaders. They have always been based their decisions on what will advantage the masses of our people most. Now, as you ponder at this conference, and as you look at this motion of whether the SACP should go off on its own and contest elections to go and sue for state power, I would want you to pause before you sign on that resolution. Pause, kancane, comrade. Pause just for a minute. You can see, I am reading your mind. I know where you want to go. But I'm saying pause for a minute and ask yourself, are we better off united or divided? Is what O.R. Tambo said still holding true or not? Are we better as one strand, or are we better off as two strands? ANC on one side contesting elections, and the SACP on one side contesting elections. You may even delude yourself. We will be in a coalition. When we get there, the cupboard is empty. So, comrades, let us think about this. Whatever we do, what we do must be underpinned by the need to serve our people. It must be underpinned first and foremost by how we are going to advance the interests of the working class and the poor. We expect, comrades, that this Congress will clearly define the role of the SACP in the national democratic revolution, and how it is going to shape an alliance program for the next decade and beyond. How we are going to be long-term players. We expect that this Congress will look beyond the challenges of the present towards the strategic decisions that will determine the future of the country and indeed the role of the alliance as we take our country forward. We need to look beyond the immediate towards the society we all seek to achieve, and with precision and great clarity to chart the actions that we will undertake to build that society. The ANC Policy Conference has placed economic growth, jobs, transformation of our economy at the center of the policies that we need to adopt. And we therefore look to this Congress to deliberate on the outcomes of the ANC Policy Conference, but because the SACP is an independent formation, to begin to craft policies that are going to advance the interests of our people, but more particularly the NDR. We look to this Congress to come up with positions that will sharpen the measures that the ANC Policy Conference looked at. The SACP needs to support and enrich the discussion that is now going to take place in ANC branches, as well as policy proposals before they are adopted by the 54th National Conference of the African National Congress. And we look to this Congress, comrades, to provide crisp, clear, and forward-looking positions that we need to take to reignite growth and create jobs. And when we do so, comrades, all we ask is that let us come with practical solutions. Let us go beyond slogans. Let us just go beyond just merely giving lip service to the issue of job creation. We look to this Congress to come up with real practical proposals that are going to ensure that we do create, our economy create jobs. We know that we cannot advance transformation to any meaningful extent unless we create employment on a massive scale, particularly for the youth. For as long as 1/3 of working-age South Africans are outside the productive economy, then all our efforts to redress the injustices of the past will have no value whatsoever. But we cannot create these jobs if the economy is not growing. And the economy will not grow unless we achieve higher levels of fixed investment. This Congress must therefore go beyond what we've always talked about in the past and look at clever, innovative ways in which we can address this. The idea articulated in the ANC's strategy and tactics that the ANC's approach to monopoly capital in particular and capital in general is one of unity and struggle, cooperation and contestation, is therefore not a mere theoretical construct. And we would like the party to engage with this because that's precisely what caused confusion at the ANC conference. It is rooted, this whole process, in our actual experience of an economy in which wealth, power, and control are concentrated in a few mainly white hands. It is rooted in our actual experience of seeking to stimulate growth and investment while at the same time undertaking a program of radical economic transformation. We look to this Congress to produce practical proposals on critical issues such as land and agrarian reform, industrialization and beneficiation, decentralization of ownership of the commanding heights of our economy, education, skills development, health, and many others. These need to be part of defining for the Alliance an unambiguous and unapologetic and ambitious program for social and economic change. Let us use the outcomes of this Congress, the proposals from the ANC Policy Conference, and the decisions of the COSATU Central Committee to articulate a clear economic agenda for the Alliance. And clearly, this is what is going to call for a summit of all the members of the Alliance so that we can iron out all these issues and craft a much clearer way forward. Let us use the months leading up to the ANC 54th National Conference to craft a program that all members of the Alliance will support and mobilize their members to advance. We must place the poor and the working class at the center of all the programs that we embark upon. It must address the working conditions of industrial workers, just as it must improve the wage and job security of the farm worker. It must prepare graduates for the workplace, and it must find training opportunities for school leavers. It must enable a proliferation of successful small and medium enterprises and co-ops, and support a new generation of industrialists. It must create jobs that are sustainable for the skills that our people have today, and also develop the skills our people will need for the jobs of tomorrow. Though our challenges are many and complex, comrades, we must act decisively and with the necessary amount of urgency to defend our gains, to defend our revolution, and to advance the overall interests of our people. And we must act now to unite, to strengthen, and to renew the alliance. Comrades, if there ever was a time when we need to be united and to strengthen our alliance, this is the time. It is when we are weak that we need to strengthen ourselves. It is when we are disunited that we need to unite. We must act now to revive and also to transform our economy. We are confident that this Congress that has so many communists who are armed with analytical tools, communists who have always been disciplined, communists who have always been driven by a commitment to advance the interests of the working class. When we are armed at this Congress with comrades who are determined to ensure that we rid our alliance of all these challenges that we face, with this type of strength that we have in this Congress, we cannot but come up with the best decisions that are going to take this country forward. It is this Congress that is meant to provide leadership. It is this Congress that is meant to provide clarity on a number of issues without putting pressure on all of you comrades who are seated here as delegates and as the leadership, whether incoming or outgoing. I have to say to you, you have a heavy burden on your shoulders. The country is looking forward to the SACP, who've always been armed with greater clarity and wisdom. We look forward to you to come up with solutions that are going to take South Africa forward. Initially, I said, our country, there is a lot of restlessness in our country. Our people are asking themselves a lot of questions, and I alluded to some of them and what needs to be done to address some of those challenges. But in the end, we need to find solutions, and the SACP is well placed to come up with good solutions, to propose what will move this country forward. And today, you have this opportunity. Each one of you coming from the four corners of our country, representing the aspirations of our people. You are the ones that the country is looking forward to. Do not fail our people. Come up with the solutions that they need. Amandla! Viva ANC, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Forward with SACP, forward! Amandla! Ngiyabonga.